Hi, it's Peg, and I'm here announcing Art Joyous Sharing's Art Journal Habit and the Pick a Stick Challenge. We did this live in our Art Joyous Sharing combo video on YouTube this morning. This is Thursday, the 31st of October. And these are prompts that we are putting out there for a couple of different Facebook groups. Pick a Stick Challenge and Art Joy is Sharing have prompts, and if you're interested in doing those types of things, come and join our Facebook groups. You don't have to join them. You can use our hashtags and follow along because we will be doing a month-long art journaling habit. This event is sponsored by Art Joy is Sharing, and for 30 days, the Art Journal Challenge is going to provide prompts to use to do our art journaling every day. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It can just be a 15-minute drawing, something like that. But we've been doing this for the past 5 years and find it helps to stimulate our process, our artistic abilities by continuing on with this. So what we did today is we used both the prompts from the Pick a Stick Challenge Facebook group and the first challenge off of the Art Journal Habit, which is Roar. So you can see the printout I have there. There's step-by-steps. The Pick a Stick, you do one step at a time, and you have a couple of wild cards that you can use for substitutions, and then we have two colors, so it's plum and slate. So I'm going to work in this Dina Wakley journal. I like the paper in here, and because the prompt is Roar, and that is from one prompt from the journal page, and then the other prompt from Pick a Stick is modeling paste or polyfilla. Well, I chose not to do that. I went down and used one of the wild cards, which is letters, and so I'm using these letters as a mask on my page. And on the other page, I've already used a mask to cover a sketch that I started before we started the video this morning. So I'm going to use these tumble dry sprays. These are sprays that have been in the market for a very long time. I've been using this product for years. I really like it because it's a permanent spray. I also like the spray that was from Adirondack. However, they have stopped producing that. So this is one of the only permanent sprays besides the Marabou that's still out there, and I have some issues with the Marabou clogging on me. So I chose these tumble dry sprays from SEI today. And because the color is plum, I'm going to use these plum purple colors to spray onto my background. And then I will remove the masks and move on to the next prompt, which is conventional. Well, isn't that quite a mouthful? So when I started thinking about the word conventional, I started thinking about conventional wisdom, popular knowledge. And most popular knowledge we think of as being conventional is not always correct. So I'm going to dry this off and then I'll be back. Now looking at my sheet, prompt number 3 is finger. And so I have to think about, well, how would I utilize that? And, fingers you use to feel, to touch, to handle. There are a lot of ways that you can look at this prompt and figure out what you want to do. I used some feelings in a quote that I had pulled, and I thought, well, I could put this on here, but then I also started thinking about conventional, and I hadn't used that prompt yet. So I went back and I wrote down a quote which says, things that don't kill you make you weaker. because, the conventional thought is they're supposed to make you stronger. Well, I got to tell you, I've been knocked down to my knees a number of times. So if things don't kill me, yeah, I'm just saved for another day. The Lord has saved me for some more important punishment, and I am weak at the knees with some of this stuff. So, um, that's my conventional knowledge. I'm going to darken that with a pen. This is a, what did I say that was? It's a Signo Uniball pen, and it's writing over the top of this bumpy paper just fine. I'm very pleased with this pen. So, once I've done that, I'm looking at the prompts, and I'm going to use Circle. I'm talking about this new puffed end for my blending tool that I got from scrapbook.com, and showing different blending tools. But what I'm going to use is a stencil, and I'm going to blend some ink. This is just that slate color ink. And because Circle is the prompt, I'm going to use that slate color and the circle and get that down on the page. And yeah, following my prompts. So I like that. That's pretty good. Let me see where we went from there. This is archival ink, so it is a permanent ink when it's dry, and it's not going to go anywhere on my page either. And then I'm going to want to glue down my quote, which I'd gotten printed out on some tissue paper. I just taped the tissue paper to a regular carrier sheet that I put through my printer. This happens to be a laser printer, so it's permanent. And I'm going to use some Aleene's Collage Page to put that down with, because that's a really good glue for these lightweight things that isn't gonna, it'll hold up to the wear and tear, and it isn't going to damage the soft paper. So my quote says, "The voice of intelligence is drowned out by the roar of fear. It is ignored by the voice of desire. It is contradicted by the voice of shame. It is biased by hate and extinguished by anger. Most of all, it is silenced by ignorance." And that's from Carl A. Menninger. So I thought that was appropriate because we were talking about roar, and that's the word for my page. And so I'm going to put an image of a lion on my page, but I also wanted to get this quote on there. So I'm going to come back to that slate color. The next prompt says trowel and curve are prompts 5 and 6, so I kind of combined them. I used a stencil for the curve, and I troweled on some gesso through the stencil just to add some texture and dimension. This is in a journal. I don't want anything real dimensional. I don't want anything that's going to take a long time to dry, because this is an hour-and-a-half show, and we have to get it done in that hour and a half. So I'm just mopping up some of that uh, messed up blob I got on my page. It's okay, sometimes you have it work, sometimes you don't. Gonna get that piece glued down, and I will remove the mask from my sketch. I sketched the lion before we started, and then I will get out my watercolors, because what I'm going to do is watercolor the main image. I decided that for the art journal habit, I really want to use my watercolors more. It's to me, it's a much quicker way of doing a page, and since I'm working in this Dina Wakley journal. It has this lovely paper in it that's feels very cottony, and so I think it'll accommodate my watercolor just fine. So I'm going to put that down, glue it in place, and then I will get started. I'm just using up the glue that I got on my brush, sealing in things. And of course we have to dry. There's always the dry time. Shallow's doing a really neat page. I hope you go over and watch her video, because I really enjoyed what she did today. I'm going to have to go back and watch it in the fast time and see what she did, because her kitty cat is very cool. It's a cool cat. Okay, so moving on, going to get my watercolor, and I'm probably going to speed this up a bit, because mostly what I'm doing when I colorize this image is just painting in the image, and I'm using that plum color, which is also one of the colors of the prompts, to deepen the colorization on the edge of my page. Getting that done. Going around the quote a little bit with that same plum color. I may even use a little bit through a stencil. You know, I'm never done with the page until I'm done with the page. And so now I've got my palette here. This is just a mixture of colors that I like to use. These are from several different companies. I have some that are Winsor & Newton. I have some, excuse me, that are Core. I have some that are Daniel Smith. I have some that are Soho. So it's just a mixed bag, and what I like to use for colors, things that I picked up by the tube and put my palette together. So there's my image, and I'm going to get a nice thirsty brush. I've spritzed my page just to moisten the paper so that it will accept the watercolor. And I'm going to start dropping some color into my image. So I'm starting off with some Soho yellow. This is a, what's it, Auroraline? It's supposed to be a Pyrolite Fast. I'm not a watercolorist, so I don't know everything there is to know about watercolor. There are a lot better people out there, but I know what I like, and I want to play with my watercolor more, so I'm getting this out. I'm adding some ivory black to the mix, just for darkening and to do the features on the face of the lion. Still quite wet, so I'm trying to be careful so that I'm not blending all of those colors together, because they will run in a hurry. And so I'm working back and forth between the black and the yellow to get the facial features of the lion. When I hear the word roar, I always think of the lion. I am a Leo myself, so yeah, lions are kind of near and dear to my heart. So, as is bulls. You know, my husband is a Taurus, so we make a good pair because we both are strong people and we balance one another. So I'm grabbing another brush. This is, let me see, what brushes did I use here? I have a couple of different favorite brushes. The first one I was using is from Lowell Cornell. It was a 12 round. And the next one I have out is a Bestie Wedge, a number 6 from Creative Mark. So if you're interested in any of those brushes, I really like this wedge brush. I was able to do some fine line work with it, and was very pleased with how it would hold the fluid and produce a nice line. So not a lot more to say about the page. I do want to encourage you to become a member of our group if you're not already there, to subscribe to my channel if you're new to my channel and are just finding out about this, because there'll be a whole lot more content coming out here. And be sure, if you're going to do this on other social media, to use the hashtag so that everybody can see your art along with what we have created here. Thanks for joining us.